Hello everybody, welcome to Business Today. We are here to discuss WannaCry Ransomware attack which has affected millions of computers across the world. We have with us our guest and forensic expert from Deloitte, Jayant Saran, who in his long career has helped many companies fight cybercrime. Jayant, can you tell us what is WannaCry Ransomware and how is it different from other cyber attacks?
Okay, so a lot has been written about WannaCry over the last week, but WannaCry itself was actually identified by a group called Malwarebytes earlier this year, and they've identified about 36,000 infections of this particular ransomware even before it hit the headlines last week. A lot has been said about the history of WannaCry and where it originated, but it's important to understand how it's made its way into the wider cyber environment. So it originates from a dump of hacking tools that this group called Shadow Brokers had actually put up for auction earlier this year. In fact, these files are still available on a site called GitHub. So how is it different from some of the other ransomwares we've seen is that while most ransomwares are dependent on the user to move it from one system to the other, WannaCry has worm-like capabilities which allows it to sort of replicate itself or move itself from one system to the other. So that is the reason why this entire magnitude of infection is of the scale that it is in terms of WannaCry. The other thing about WannaCry is that it's not really the capability of the malware itself. It actually exploits a vulnerability that exists in the Microsoft operating system. It is this vulnerability that it's exploited to make sure that it's moved from one system to the other. Now, this particular vulnerability that WannaCry exploits is actually something that Microsoft, on the 14th of March earlier this year, they identified that particular vulnerability as a critical vulnerability and provided an update for it. Operating system companies or most companies that have applications that run on systems keep providing updates as and when they identify any kind of a vulnerability. If a vulnerability is identified, it may not have been as specific to something like WannaCry, but the fact that there was a vulnerability, which is what they've tried to address with the update.
Now about its impact across the world and in India, there have been reports that have come from Kerala and West Bengal of some computers getting hacked. How worried should we be here in India?
We actually should be very, very concerned. And one of the reasons for this is that if you look at who's been infected, it seems to cut across industry sectors, whether it's the government, whether it's something like Tirupati Temple, which was in the news recently. So it seems to be cutting across private organizations, multinationals, and which is where the big cause of concern for us should be.
And as for the individual user, somebody like me who goes to Gmail, uses the computer every day, what should I do to stay safe?
So another aspect as to why both individuals and organizations need to be concerned is because of the fact that India possibly has the largest number of pirated operating systems and antivirus systems that are in use. Most of these don't get updated as in when the software company actually releases an update. Now, if you have a ransomware which is exploiting a vulnerability and you have an inability to update your operating system to be able to address that vulnerability, you are by definition exposed. And this is true for a lot of individuals, this is true for a lot of small and medium businesses. This is actually true for a lot of large organizations where the IT administrators aren't really updating these patches on their operating systems and their networks. And because this particular ransomware has the ability to move across the network without any external assistance, by default, the entire organizations or all individuals who may be in contact with someone who's infected could be at risk.
Also, there have been concerns about the safety of ATMs, which a lot of which apparently run on Windows XP. So, should we be worried about our money being safe in banks and in ATMs?
In some ways, your money in the bank is as safe as it was last week or 2 weeks ago, because banks have been regularly targets of attempts to breach. Specifically to your comment on ATMs, most of the ATMs in India, it's no secret, still run on an XP operating system. A lot of these have not been updated. Now, because Microsoft stopped supporting XP 3 years ago, a lot of the vulnerabilities that have been identified since have not been patched on these ATMs. What I understand is that Microsoft has actually released an update, the same security patch that they have for everyone else, to address that vulnerability that WannaCry exploits, also for XP in this case, because of the large number of XP users that we have in India.
And my final question is about digital currency, Bitcoin. Why do hackers seem to love it?
Okay, so it's a very simple answer to that question. If I was to get a transfer made to a bank account there's a possibility of that being tracked. If I was to use a PayPal account, there's a possibility of that being tracked because of the financial regulations that are coming up in most countries. The benefit of Bitcoin is that it has a utility in the cyber world, firstly, and secondly, it's tough for you to be able to track how that Bitcoin is moving, within the cyberspace. So if as a person who doesn't want to leave a footprint and I want to conduct financial transactions, this by default becomes one of the ways.
And how do they encash it? As in, how do they make transactions using Bitcoin?
There's a lot of transactions that I can do in cyberspace using Bitcoin. Jury is still out on how to regulate it and how to encash it. Bitcoins have been of late the currency of choice for most hackers, and definitely so in the ransomware world. So not just for WannaCry, but ransomware that existed in or that have been used in the past, Bitcoins have been the currency of choice. And if you just look at it, as of today, 300 Bitcoins, which is what WannaCry is asking for to decrypt a particular file.
Very interesting. Thank you, Jayant. Thank you for coming here and explaining this to our viewers. Thank you very much.